I got echo. I don't know. Well, mics are out. There you go. Perfect. All right. Statement for the meeting. The Governor of Iowa has declared a public emergency because of the COVID-19 outbreak. The mayor has determined that an in-person meeting of the city council is impossible or practical without violating the governor's mandates. When an in-person meeting is impossible or impractical, Iowa Code Section 21.8 permits a governmental body to conduct a meeting by electronic means. The meeting will be conducted by video conference using Zoom from the council chambers. The mayor, city administrator, city clerk, and city attorney will be in the council chambers. The 7 council members will not be.
We lost the mayor. We lost him to, there it goes.
All right.
There we go.
There we go.
The meeting will be
conducted by video conference using Zoom from the council chambers. The mayor, city administrator, city clerk, and city attorney will be in the council chambers. This evening it's just myself,
city clerk,
and the city clerk's deputy
here in the council
chambers.
The 7
city council members will not be in the chambers but will participate via Zoom conferencing.
Comments for
items that are on the agenda may be made by submitting them prior to the meeting to the city clerk, mayor, or any of the council members, or by calling 319-596-0179 during the meeting. The video audio conference of the meeting will be broadcast in the normal public access channels. We will strive to maintain the quality of the video and audio during that broadcast.
Public access
is available through this broadcast.
Meeting minutes
will still be kept and will include a statement explaining why an in-person meeting was impossible or impractical. We'll conduct the roll call at this time.
Beaufore.
She responded.
Birgen.
Here I am.
Drenkow.
I am here.
Glaser.
Here.
Kangas.
Present.
Rathe. Schneider.
Here.
All right.
Seek approval of the agenda as presented.
I'll move approval of the agenda as presented.
Second.
Rod
and Matt.
Got a motion
and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same
sign.
Motion carries.
Motion carries unanimously.
A point of order, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if it would be helpful. I wonder if it would be helpful to Carla if we stated our name before we made a motion or a second.
I can tell
as long as I'm calling it, I can tell that you just talked. It lights up your frame, your Brady Bunch frame.
So I can
call that out. So I knew that it was the two of you, but I got you. Thank you.
Item D is
the approval of the minutes of the April 6, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
I'll move approval as written.
And
Second.
And Matthew Schneider.
For the second.
All in favor,
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed
the same sign.
Motion carries.
Item E is a proclamation for Arbor Day.
I'll read it here.
Whereas trees are most valuable resource in Waverly and the state of Iowa by purifying our air and water, helping to conserve our soil and energy, creating jobs for our people, providing critical wildlife habitat, and yielding bountiful recreation. And whereas disease, insects, and pollutants have damaged and continue to threaten our trees, creating the need for reforestation programs and concerted public action toward ensuring the future of our city's urban forest. And whereas this year on the 24th of April, Arbor Day, the people of Waverly pay special attention to the wonderful gift that our trees represent and dedicate themselves to the continued health of our city's urban forest. Now, therefore, I, Adam P. Hoffman, Mayor of the City of Waverly, Iowa, do hereby proclaim the day of April 24th to be Arbor Day for 2020. Further, I urge the citizens of Waverly to become aware of the importance of trees to our community's well-being and to participate in tree planting programs which will ensure a green Waverly in the decades to come.
Seek a motion.
Move approval of the proclamation as read by the mayor.
Tim?
Motion by
Kangas.
Second.
Second
by Glaser.
All in favor?
Say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign.
Opposed, the same sign.
Motion carries.
Motion carries for the proclamation.
Item G is
the consent calendar. The following items will be acted upon by voice vote on a single motion without separate discussion, unless someone from the council or public requests that a specific item be considered separately.
Item 1,
Set the public hearing date for May 18th, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers at City Hall to review the Cedar River Park project plan, specification, form of contract, and estimated cost. Item 2, pay request from WHKS and Company for the business 218 North Resurfacing 2020 for the amount of $813.15. Item 3, pay request from Snyder and Associates for the traffic study 2020 for the amount of $3,919.50. Item 4, pay request from ATC Group Services LLC for the WPC Facility Improvements 2020 for the amount of $3,250. Pay request from Farnsworth Group for the Public Services Center North Edition 2021 for the amount of $12,497.10. Item 6, pay request from WHKS and Company for the Water Pollution Control Facility Improvements 2020 for the amount of $35,074.40. Item 7, pay request from Street Construction Incorporated for the Waverly Senior Housing Building Project for the amount of $100,368.37 to be paid by Waverly Senior Housing. Item 8 is a Class C liquor license for Woodenfoot Saloon. Item 9 is the cash disbursements for March 2020. See a motion to approve.
I'll move approval of the consent calendar as read by the mayor.
Motion by Rathe.
Motion by Rathe.
Second by Beaufort.
Second by Beaufort.
Further discussion?
Any further discussion?
Hearing none.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Opposed, the same sign.
Motion carries.
Motion carried on the consent calendar. Item
H, regular business.
H, regular business, number 1, Resolution 20-58, a resolution approving a plat of survey for the properties located at parcel ID 0535252004 of 104 Garner Drive.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2058, approving a plat of survey to create parcel X out of the existing properties extending into the Cedar River, located at parcel ID 0535252004 of 104 Garner Drive for Stephen Snyder.
Motion by Schneider.
Motion by Schneider.
Second by Rathe.
Second by Rathe. Any further discussion?
I just had a question. I know there's a few people on here that had dealt with this. It says that they voted this down. The commission voted this down. So I just had some questions about it. If somebody could kind of answer those questions, I'm not sure.
I think that's why I'm here. Can anybody hear me?
Yep, sure can.
Yeah.
Sure can, Isaac.
This is Jurgen Block. Does somebody else want to speak first? Sorry, if I'm interrupting. Yeah, I'm the fellow that submitted the plat. Originally, my wife and I bought this house back in November. We moved to Waverly. The best thing about the house we bought was the view of the river and everything behind it. So I approached Mr. Styron about selling me just the parcel of land that's directly south of my house so I could buy it and maintain it. I went through all the work, had everybody's survey put in, application done. I went to the zoning commission thing, and I wasn't notified and had a meeting. I was told by Isaac that they voted no because they thought I was doing a boat dock or something there, which was never my intention. It was, I would love to have this land behind my house so I can maintain it and take care of it, I guess, is what I'm after.
Well, it seems to me that all we're talking about is subdividing land that's already there. So whether or not we have the right to create a dock is independent of how we divide the land.
I don't know what Brian said.
Brian,
I'll make a comment. Can people understand me or hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I reached out to.
We need to.
Okay, I reached out to Hank Begelman to try to get an understanding of why P and Z voted this down. I read the minutes and I really couldn't see an explanation. And other than there seemed to be some concern about potentially a dock going in, but I really couldn't get any better understanding of why it was voted down. I don't know if Isaac, if you have some insight into that.
Yeah. So when this was originally brought before staff, it was by the former property owner of 104 Garner Drive, and that person had said to staff that was under their impression that the future property owners were interested in installing a dock. And when it was turned in, the applicant on the application for the proposed division of land is Stephen Styron, and then our point of contact with him was HRS land or HRS surveying. So we had never received any notice from them that wasn't the intentions. So when we went into planning and zoning, that's what we relayed to them because that's the information we had. After contacting them after the planning and zoning, Mr. Block contacted staff. He informed us that was not his intention, that he wanted to clean up the bank to enhance the view from his property. And that's why we also included that in the staff's summary to the city council.
I have a question for Isaac. I guess I'm looking at this. I kind of agree with the hesitation that planning and zoning has about having people put docks out in the river, but I don't think not approving this application is the proper method of trying to keep docks from going in the river. I think maybe we need to have an ordinance then that says along those lines, because the reason that the person wants to have this property split out really should be up to them. I mean, it's not our choice to decide what they do with the property. The current property owner could do something with it. I understand that it has to have DNR approval for anything that they do. But my question for Isaac is there a specific reason that we would not want to approve this? Is the property getting too small? Are there going to be issues going forward with splitting it out for property tax purposes? Is there some kind of reason why, other than simply not wanting to have this split out, that we would actually want to disapprove this this parcel division?
So installation of docks, like you said, that'd be governed by the DNR currently. We don't have any ordinance about putting docks into the river. That was part of the concern from planning and zoning. As far as staff standpoint, we didn't give a recommendation at the planning and zoning level. I think our viewpoint on it is that it's currently in the river. It's in an environmentally sensitive, so I mean, it's not available to be developed. So we had kind of left it up to the planning and zoning to make the recommendation that they saw fit and then pass it on to the city council.
And I just want to make it clear here before we vote that a yes vote is in favor of the replatting, a no vote is not to replat.
Can you clarify that, Carlo?
Yes,
If I might, keep in mind that it's not just it's not a replat, but the replat of that particular parcel. That that parcel is not adjacent to the parcel Mr. Block owns. There's a street between it. There's right-of-way between it. It's a very small parcel that's out of the water. Most of it's under the water. And I think everybody anticipated that potential exists for a bunch of skinny little lots that wrap around through this area of the river. And I think that was the concern that some of the members had that was expressed. Maybe outside of the chambers, because I wasn't there.
And what would be the problem with that?
If you started carving up the bank, you'd have you'd have these little pieces all the way along the bank, and it's a small piece that lies between the right-of-way of the street and the river's bank itself. There isn't really any reason to carve that up. Otherwise, somebody would just have a small parcel to walk down from the right-of-way to their parcel. If you want to do it that way, I mean, it's certainly a possibility, but it made sense to leave it all with one person who had that owned that large piece, instead of dividing it up piecemeal. And it isn't adjacent to these lots. I mean, it's like anybody could buy these lots. So somebody that doesn't even live here and somebody from some other area could buy the lot and then try to do things with that basically. And we just thought there wasn't any real economic reason to do it. Since you really can't develop on it, you can't, other than walk onto it.
Well, I can see an economic reason for Mr. Block to do this because it breaks up his view of the river, and I think cleaning out some of the scrub brush and things like that are probably in the best interest of the city also, to have a nice clean view of the river. I understand the concern about having little small slivers of land that people own, but I mean, nothing is going to be done with this land. Nothing is going to be built on it. Nothing is going to be it's not going to be developed. It's just simply a piece of land that he wants to be able to control so he can clean his view out so you can see the river. I personally don't really see a problem with that.
I think you hit it on the head earlier, Rod. We really probably need to do an ordinance about river property use, what's allowed, what's not. That would solve a lot of the problems that we're seeing on these kind of purchases or parcels. And if there's limitations in place that don't allow some of these things, it may reduce people wanting to purchase some of these for those reasons. But that may be a good step, regardless of how this vote goes, to start looking into what we can do to address what can and cannot be done on this river.
Can I say something again? Sorry if I'm cutting in on anybody. But yeah, the only thing that I want it for is to maintain the main value of my house is it's an old 60s ranch house. And the main thing that adds any value to my house is that view of the river and that area behind the house. So it's important to me that if I can have control of that and I don't have to worry about anybody else coming in and I can make the view nice, it's important to me. And at this point, I'm about $3,000 into this thing already, and I don't own it yet by the time I've paid for the survey and everything else going on to get to this point. So I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Block, is there anything about the work you're planning to do that might destabilize that bank and erode the bank?
Not that I can see. I just like to clean up the brush so I've got a clear view of the river. It's kind of overgrown right there right now, and there's a lot of rubbish that was dumped down there at one time. I'd like to clean that up, and it's not a huge piece of land, like you said. I mean, you're not going to come in there and put a house on there or something, but for me, I want to keep it so I can see the view, and it's really what makes my property nice is that view right there.
So I have a question.
I would note or clarify, Isaac or Bill, this is, since it was voted down by P&Z, it does need a supermajority vote to override that.
Yes.
Yes.
It needs a 6 vote.
So a question that I have is, so it looks like there's about 40 feet of bank. Looks like there's about
40 feet of bank
between the
city's right of way and the river.
So what
between the city right of way and the road edge? This is probably a better question for Bill.
What authority
does the property owner have on
between the
right of way and the edge of the road?
Well, I guess in this situation, they just own the bank, and the city's right of way is really controlled by the city. I know our people from vegetation management would be responsible for anything that would interfere with street use. If there were limbs, trees that interfered with that. So we try to control that along Cedar Lane, the immediate right of way that the city owns, so that we can control dead branches, dead trees, that kind of thing.
And that's the lead in here is what authority, if this is done, what authority would it give a property owner to clear that? Let's say like it is up further to the west on Cedar Lane Road.
Would they be able?
Well, I would argue
to clear cut everything.
I would argue that it doesn't give them the right to do that. I mean, I don't think this is the same situation. I mean, it shouldn't be done that way, because the city should control whether or not they want trees or things along that right of way. On a street like that, if you don't have the vegetation, you've got a straight drop into the river, and you've got to think about how you're going to safely maintain that right of way for cars that are operating on Cedar Lane.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Especially kind of close to that
intersection too. I see.
Right. That doesn't mean that somebody couldn't ask for a tree to be removed, or some removal of some brush that is unnecessary. I think that's a city decision.
And that's the purpose of me asking that question, is how willing is the city in the future going to be to cooperate with Mr. Block if his request is to have that, almost clear cut. I don't know what the overall plans for that is. I'm very familiar with the house and where it is.
So I could see
Mr. Block's request in being valid.
Well, I know a lot of people want to have trees along that Cedar Lane. So, I mean, it would be something that the public would generally support, keeping trees along there, just because that's the way that road has always been. And it's a beautiful road for that reason. Again, a bare bank would be another one of those things that would have to be determined. How could we safely maintain trees, just like we put the blocks behind Port Queens? We certainly want to protect folks from themselves and vehicles going over the edge.
Correct.
This question is for Mike. What will the reconstruction of Cedar Lane, what kind of impact will that have on the city's right of way with those trees along that road when you do that project?
And a Google Street View of the corridor. And I think, like we've done in those other areas that have further to the south, if we curb and gutter this section, the curb along the river side would pretty much fall in line with the edge of the existing pavement. So I was on Beacon just doing some quick measurements. If you look at the north end, the city's right-of-way appears to extend about 18 feet over the bank from the edge of the pavement, and on the south end it's about 25 feet. So in looking at that, I think many of the trees that Mr. Block is referring to may be within the public right-of-way. Now again, that Beacon, it's not the aerial is not overlaid perfectly with the property lines, and Mr. Block I think has done some surveying. I think the lath are maybe still out there. But in regards to the road work, again, that the existing edge of pavement along the river is where we would look at trying to maintain that curb line.
Hey, this is Mr. Block here again. Hey, I'm not for cutting down all the trees. I guess I hope you didn't misunderstand what I said. mistake what I said there. Is just clean up the brush and stuff. I'm not for cutting down all the trees, I guess. I like the trees. So. If you look down on the bottom of the bank, it looks like somebody tore a house down and threw all the rubbish from the house down at the bottom of the bank there. I mean, it's a mess by the river.
I thank
you for clarifying that, because I really didn't want you to assume that I thought you wanted to clear cut it, but
future
property owner gets that idea, that kind of thing. So,
and then you have the
trickle down effect. Well, he did it, I can do it.
Well, regardless of where the property is, wouldn't it be every property owner's responsibility to work with the city to, so that they weren't chopping down trees or clearing brush off property that actually is part of the city right of way? I mean, I would assume that a property owner would be doing that, and a survey would help you know where your property ended and where the city started. Correct? I mean, if it's done properly.
Certainly it would. I mean, that's what it's going to show you how much you have between the water's edge and the line that is the right-of-way line.
Can we call the question?
You certainly can. You certainly can.
You certainly can.
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Carla? Okay.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote.
Okay.
I'm going to unmute myself.
Okay. Schneider.
Yes.
I didn't hear you.
Rathe.
Yes, we're having trouble hearing you, Carla.
Carla's muted.
Okay, I think that's better, right? Okay. So we got Schneider, Rathe, Kangas,
Yes.
Glaser,
Yes.
Drenkow,
Yes.
Birgen, Beaufore,
Yes.
Good. And I get my audio
fixed here.
What was our final
cut there, Carla?
7 yeses.
Okay.
7 to 0 absent.
Resolution
20-58 is approved.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. Block.
It's appreciated.
Appreciated.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Good night.
Item number 2 under regular business is set the public hearing date to consider the vacation and conveyance of a portion of 6th Street Northwest from north right-of-way line of 6th Avenue Northwest to the south right-of-way line of the Cedar River Railroad Company. Seeking a motion.
I think you were muted.
Anybody hear that?
Set the public hearing date to consider the vacation and conveyance of a portion of 6th Street Northwest from north right-of-way line of 6th Avenue Northwest to the south right-of-way line of the Cedar River Railroad Company. Seeking a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the public hearing date to consider vacation and conveyance of a portion of 6th Street Northwest from north right-of-way line of 6th Avenue Northwest to the south right-of-way line of the Cedar River Railroad Company for May 18, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall. It has that date on the 2nd. We'll see.
Second.
Motion
by Schneider, second by
Kangas. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Oppose the same sign. Public hearing is set. Item number 3, set the public hearing date for the first reading of Ordinance 1073, an ordinance providing for rezoning of a portion of 6th Street Northwest from north right-of-way line of 6th Avenue Northwest to the south right-of-way line of the Cedar River Railroad Company from a city-owned street to M1 Light Industrial.
All right, I'll move approval of setting the public hearing date for the first reading of Ordinance 1073, an ordinance providing for rezoning of a portion of 6th Street Northwest from north right-of-way line of 6th Avenue Northwest to the south right-of-way line of the Cedar River Railroad Company from a city-owned street to M1 Light Industrial for May 18, 2020 at 7:00 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall.
Second.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Rathe. Any further discussion?
Now, I realize that this is just for setting the public hearing, but I would like someone to explain to me why this is being rezoned as light industrial as opposed to commercial. It seems that it's adjacent to residential and commercial, but it's being rezoned as light industrial.
Actually, Brian, I think it's adjacent to a light industrial use on the east. That warehouse that used to be a Stratman warehouse that's now owned by Peterson's is a light industrial use, and this property is going to be used in conjunction with that building, because that building is basically built on the property lines on pretty much on both sides, and on the right-of-way line on the front. So they want some additional access to the building and some parking area. And there's a building back there that they're cleaning up at this point. They've already done a lot of work, presuming that they will get your approval, because it was a real mess. This is one of our problem areas, and this is a good start to cleaning up this area. It didn't really fit well with residential because there's only a small number of houses to the west. And in fact, the property owner to the west is in favor of what's happening with the property. Will actually help improve their property too.
But when I looked on Beacon Corp, I thought it was listed as commercial. So.
But it's probably
use is listed as commercial, but the zoning is actually M1.
It is? Okay.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion?
Actually, M1 is consistent with the property next to it, because I mean it's a warehouse, and that's what we want, warehouses in M1 district.
As long as the zoning is that way. When I looked on Snyder, it looked like the zoning was commercial. You can confirm that that's light industrial. There was just one explanation there.
And I don't know if how many of you have gone out and taken a look at that, but it's right at the end of my street, 6th Street. And anything that can be done with that property to clean it up is going to be a real improvement. The fact that both adjacent property owners are in favor of this, I think is pretty much a no-brainer.
Actually, he's been working on the railroad side too, because there's a lot of that area that had been kind of spilled into the railroad right away. And I'm sure they're not unhappy with him cleaning up the area that's in their right away too.
Okay, anything further?
Anything further?
Hearing none.
All in favor of setting the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign.
Opposed, the same sign.
Public hearing is
set.
Item number
4
is resolution
20-59, a resolution approving the payment of TIF, hotel, motel, and upper story facade improvements rebates.
I'll move approval of resolution 20-59, approving the payment of TIF, hotel, motel, and upper story facade improvements rebates to be paid in this fiscal year 2019 to 20 for the following: Carmi Flavor and Fragrance Company, $14,693.89. Waverly Hotel Group LLC, hotel motel tax, $68,908.63. Waverly Hotel Group LLC, TIF, $98,886.12. Ann's Liquidation Services LLC, $346.38. Ann's Liquidation Service LLC, $1,539.26. Best Ventures LLC, $1,811.24. Zachary Bishorner, $3,136.61. And Brian Schneider, $3,998.58.
Is that Birgen?
Second.
Oh, Beaufore.
Motion by Rathe, second by Beaufort. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Carla. Any further discussion here?
Still didn't hear you.
There you go.
There you go. Any further discussion by anybody?
Yeah, I had a couple questions on this. On the Carmi flavors, whoever can answer me on this, I thought that one was finished.
Carmi Flavors is one that's it still remains. It was a property tax only. It just, as long as they paid the property tax, they got the rebate. And I believe there was a number of some more years available on that one too. Another TIF agreement that we had on a different property, we canceled that one because they didn't comply with the development agreement. So this is not that one.
Perfect. That makes sense. So they're continuing to pay the property tax, and just the business didn't work, but that doesn't change anything on the agreement. And then my second question was on Waverly Hotel. We have $167,000, and that was that agreement is predicated on so many jobs, I believe. And I don't have that number in front of me, but what is the agreement on that?
The economic development TIF is we pay back a certain amount over time, and it's probably a year and a half away from being over. But it's calculated every year. We check on the amount of jobs that they've had by asking them for information so we can verify that. And Connie's done that.
But Bill, I was thinking that we amended the number of employees like a year and a half ago or so.
It's from 9 to 8.
So, right.
Yeah, it's been confirmed. So they do meet the requirements, been confirmed. The budget we just set for next year is their last payment.
So I guess my question, I guess I don't know what numbers of jobs that they're supposed to have and what numbers they do have. They've met whatever requirement that is, or they met it on the amended requirement?
It was a 9 full-time equivalent, and now it's an 8 full-time equivalent based on the change that the council approved. And we usually calculate all that, and Connie does a good job of making sure that that's happened over the year, that they have maintained that over the full year.
Very good, thank you. That's, I think, all I had on that.
All right, hearing
no further discussion, roll call, Carla.
Okay. We've got Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufort.
Yes.
Schneider.
No.
Rathe.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Glaser.
Yes.
On a vote of 6-1 with 0 absent. Resolution 20-59 is approved. Item number 5, resolution 20-60. I'm getting some feedback from you, I think.
Approving
payment of relocation expenses, down payment and incidental expenses, relocation administrative expenses, and easement acquisition expenses, and approve submitting an FAA grant application for federal assistance for the costs incurred for the airport safety zone project at the Waverly Municipal Airport and associated forums.
I'll move to approve Resolution 20-60, approving the payment of relocation expenses of $24,570.58, down payment and incidental expenses of $1,343.20 to Marvin and Margene Schmidt, relocation administrative expenses of $8,277 to relocation consultant A&R Land Services of Ames, Iowa, title certificate and recording fees of $750, and easement acquisition expenses totaling $22,889.50 to James and Sandra Jansen, for the total cost of $57,829.78 for the project, and approve submitting a FAA grant application for federal assistance for the costs incurred for the Airport Safety Zone project at the Waverly Municipal Airport and associated forms.
Second.
Motion by
Glaser, second
by Kangas.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Hearing none, roll.
Roll call, Carl.
Glaser.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
And Kangas.
Yes.
On a vote of
7-0 absent, Resolution 20-60 is approved.
Item 6
is Resolution 20-61, approving the Iowa Department of Transportation Airport State Funding Application for the Reconstruct T-Hangar Taxi Lanes 2021 project at the Waverly Municipal Airport.
I will move approval of Resolution 2061, approving the Iowa Department of Transportation, IDOT, Airport State Funding Application for the Reconstruct T-Hangar Taxi Lanes 2021 project at the Waverly Municipal Airport.
Second.
Motion by
Birgen, second by Drenkow.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Hearing none,
roll call, Carla.
Kangas.
Yes.
Glaser.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
On a vote of 7-0 with 0 absent, Resolution 20-61 is approved. Item number 7,
Resolution 20-62, approving the professional services agreement with WHKS and Company for the Old Water Pollution Control Dome Demolition 2020 project.
I'll move approval of Resolution 20-62, approving the professional services agreement with WHKS and Company of Mason City, Iowa for the Old Water Pollution Control WPC Dome Demolition 2020 project for the not to exceed amount of $19,000.
Second.
Who's that? Birgen?
Motion
by Drenkow,
second by
Birgen.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Hearing none,
roll call, Carla.
Rathe.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Glaser.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
Schneider.
Yes.
Vote of 0 absent. Resolution 20-62 is approved. Item number 8, Resolution 20-63
is to fix
a date for a public hearing on a proposal to participate in the Small Business Association's Paycheck Protection Program and obtain a forgivable loan for the benefit of the Waverly Health Center in an amount not to exceed $5,600,000.
Well, I'll move for approval. Resolution 20-63 to fix a date for a public hearing on the proposal to participate in the Small Business Administration's Paycheck Protection Program and obtain a forgivable loan for the benefit of a Waverly Health Center in an amount not to exceed $5,600,000 for April 27, 2020 at 7:00 p.m. in the council chambers of City Hall.
Second.
What's that?
What's that?
Correct.
Correct.
Motion by Drenkow.
Motion by Drenkow, second by Rathe.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
I'll make a
Normally, I
Make
would
a note
ask.
here.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Normally, I would ask for financials in approving, but this, yes, it's a forgivable loan, but it's, it's going to end up probably all being a grant. I suspect almost all of it's going to payroll, but whatever you can do to fill us in there on where this is going.
Yeah, the program sent in by the federal government was to help alleviate the costs associated with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the hospital itself has been looking at submitting this loan, and part of it's been the timing of it. They want you to take a draw within 10 days of approval. So when they submitted it, they were approved an hour afterwards. That made for difficulty in getting a public hearing to the council, getting all this done. So we've looked at pulling back the application, refiling it because funds are still available. That will occur. They will be approved. The banks are involved, and so it will become a forgivable loan. If it were not, the hospital itself would have to pay back that amount of money. We've talked to the financial with Jim Addy, the CEO, and Lisa Bennett, their CFO. Everything is in order. It looks aligned. We have no issue on the city side. We have no liability whatsoever. Even if it turned into a revenue bond to help take out the loan, again, that's on the hospital itself. So it's pretty locked down from the sounds of it. We just have to go through the proper procedure to approve it as the parent owner for the hospital to be able to apply for this and then receive this funding from the federal government. So it will go towards their operations to offset the overtime, the PPE, the operational expenses they've had to incur to cover this pandemic as it goes forward.
Thanks for that clarification, James.
Yes, sir.
I guess, are you aware? You may not know this, but is this a special program for hospitals? Because the PPP program for small employers pretty much blew through their money within a few days, and they're debating now whether to refund that. I think there may have been a separate program for hospitals.
I've become a short expert on PPP, and from my understanding, the hospital should be able to use 75% of this for payroll, 25% for utilities and occupancy costs. They can use up to 100% in payroll, but it's definitely needed to keep the payroll rolling. So, and as long as they do that, it's all a grant. So.
Yeah, I've been intimately involved with PPP also. It seems like that's all we've been talking about the last week and a half. But I guess I was just kind of curious that I hope that we didn't miss a funding window here by having to go through the process of having this approved by the council.
No, I think we've covered that, and we have the process figured out in a sense. I think they're going through to go ahead and get the application program. It's a matter of whether or not the draw is taken in time. So this will allow them to take the draw accordingly, whether they have to do it immediately and hold that draw, offset that draw. We've been through a bunch of scenarios with bond attorneys from Dorsey and Whitney. They use them versus Ehlers and Cooney that we use, but I've also talked to Ehlers. So I think we're good with the window. It was just a matter of getting the formality through, and that's why on the 27th, just a mere week later, we'll try and have the public hearing so they officially can start to draw that down on the 27th, I guess, after the meeting, but more likely the 28th. And so we have checked everything off, and it should be good to go.
Which
just as it can
brings another question up. Are we going to have a business meeting of the council then on April 27th?
It was scheduled for a study session, and unfortunately this came up. We were looking at what do we do on the study session, do we have it or not. We will have a small business meeting pending what the mayor would like to add to it. We have just 2 items, this hearing and then a lease that's been expired for some time that we just need to get wrapped up as well, and it's kind of the only 2 that I'm aware of. But again, it will be a business meeting somewhat versus a study session, although it could be a little bit of both depending on what council would like to do. But it did kind of force it to happen because of the short time frame. That was one of the drawbacks. We had to definitely have that meeting a week from today.
You beat me to my
punchline there, Mr. Drenkow.
But I appreciate it. Any other discussion? Roll call, Carla, please.
Schneider.
Yes.
Rathe.
Yes.
Kangas.
Yes.
Glaser.
Yes.
Drenkow.
Yes.
Birgen.
Yes.
Beaufore.
Yes.
On a vote of
7-0 with 0 absent, resolution 20-63 sets that public hearing.
Item H
is reports from boards and commissions. Item 1 is Golf Commission minutes from January 14th of 2020.
Item 2 is
Leisure Services Commission minutes from January 16th, 2020. Item 3 is Library Board of Trustees minutes of February 11th, 2020. Item 4 is monthly financials for March 2020, all received into record.
Staff updates.
Mr. Browder.
I have staff online here, so if they do have updates, they will go ahead and provide them for you.
Yep, I do have a couple of things. Trees Forever and Leisure Services is putting on a coloring competition, or actually more accurately an Arbor Day poster contest, where we're asking people under the age of 18 to draw pictures as to what Arbor Day means for them. We have 3 different age groups, from 2 to 5, 6 to 12, and then ages 13 to 18. The deadline to get those in is this Thursday. Then the winners will be announced next week. Each winner of each division will receive $10 in Waverly dollars. So that's something we have going on there. And then also, as I'm sure everyone has heard, with the governor's new proclamation from last Thursday, the golf course is now closed, as well as the dog park. So we will just be, seeing what May 1st brings. We're hopeful that we can get those opened back up at that time.
I don't think we have any other updates, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that.
City Council,
I'll just start at the top of my window. I've got Ward 4. This is Beaufort.
I just want to mention that I'm a parent of a couple seniors actually this year, and there is a group of parents working on recognizing our seniors for WSR this year, and just compiling some ideas on what we can do to recognize these seniors. And I just wanted to, I'm maybe seeing if we could do a study session a little bit next week with some ideas. And I'm just gathering some information from the city, and see how the city and maybe the businesses can help as well during this time. So if you do get emails from me or a lot of questions, throwing out some ideas, I'm sorry if I annoy you, but that's what I'm doing. So there's just been a few ideas of anywhere from posters to putting signs up or banners and stuff. So I've been kind of talking to see what ideas, what is even possible out there. So if anybody has any ideas, that would be great. Or if any, economic development could help. Or James, anybody, Garrett, I've talked to Garrett today, I've talked to Kurt, a few other people. So just if you have any ideas in any way that the city council could be supportive or businesses of the city. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather, for that. Mr. Birgen.
I would like to encourage people to be patient as we go through this coronavirus quarantine. If you look at the science, we need to maintain the same level of social distancing and diligent hand washing and cleanliness, not only until the peak, but the same amount of time after the peak from the onset of the virus. So if you look at when we first had the outbreak to the peak, we really need to maintain that social distancing for that amount of time after the peak. That's kind of what all the mathematical models and the science tells us. So while it may seem that things are getting better, we need to maintain that social distancing and that hygiene level until we're in kind of almost full remission. Otherwise, we'll get a second outbreak, and we don't want to see that kind of another peak. We don't want to stress out our healthcare system more than we have to. So please be safe, wash your hands, and keep your distance as best you can.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Birgen.
Move on
to Ms. Rathe.
I just want to thank the city staff for helping services run smoothly. I know it's made their job more complicated to be socially distanced and they can't work in groups like usual, but I appreciate that city services are running smoothly. I also want to thank people who are not necessarily healthcare workers, but are working at the grocery stores and convenience stores and helping get goods and services delivered in town. I also want to give a shout out to the Bartles staff. As most of you know, they have had some positive cases out there. I'm on the board at Bartles in one of my other hats I wear, and I just want to give a shout out to Paula Geis, who's the CEO, and all of her staff there, who I think are doing a great job. At the hospital, things sometimes seem slower and sometimes seem more stressful. But we're all wearing masks and face shields now to do our job, and it takes a little getting used to, but it's necessary, as Brian said. So I would encourage people, just take this a day at a time. I tell people every day, try to have some balance in each day, some exercise, some quiet time, some family time, some productive time, and this too shall pass. But like Brian said, we need to be patient and just be a solid community, and we'll get through this.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Go to Mr.
Glaser.
I just wanted to second what Ann said. I really appreciate the city staff keeping the services going in the midst of all of this. The essential workers, the healthcare workers, the folks that are running the grocery stores, still delivering food and making it less panicky for people. So I appreciate everybody that's still going to work and doing what they need to do for others. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr.
Drenkow.
I guess I would just like to say that it's good to see all of you again, even if it is by video chat. This might seem hard to believe, but I'm really looking forward to all of us being in the same room again. So let's hope that happens fairly soon.
Your chair is
still here, trust me.
All right,
Mr. Snyder.
Well, to echo what Rod said, I was just going to be very appreciative of the technology, which I know wasn't planned, but I'm, at least on my screen, I'm sitting right in between Rod and Chris, so I appreciate that to whoever at Zoom planned that. That was good. I just want to say, the last really quite, since the beginning of the event, as a business owner of several businesses across multiple states, which are all locations closed other than North Dakota, we've really had to figure out how to rebuild a business when the revenue goes to zero. And that's a very challenging thing to do, and to be able to keep 50 people on the payroll while you're doing that. So what's really important in that process is identifying people's needs. And this is where extra things come up where I can put that into the city bucket. And I think the biggest thing that went into the city bucket out of these nearly sleepless nights is the food needs. The food needs that we are going to see in our community and across the country are going to be phenomenal. And I've texted the mayor several times over the last few weeks, and I would really like us as a community and even as a council. As a matter of fact, I think I'm just going to recommend that we put this on the agenda for next week as well, as long as we have a meeting to really review that and go over that. And I don't know if we can, if it makes sense to bring somebody in additionally from the community. Now, with that said, I know we already have good, solid structure in place. I just want to make sure that we blow that up times 10 so we don't have additional problems. Safe, when people are fed, the communities are safe. And if we end up outdoing ourselves and throwing food out of our community, I think that's fine too. So, but I think that's going to be very, very important. So thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Thanks.
Thanks, Matthew.
And Mr. Kangas.
And Mr. Kangas.
I have nothing additional to add at this point.
All right.
Well, I appreciate all of the comments from staff and the council members as well. I want to give kind of go off of what Ann had mentioned a moment ago. I had an opportunity to speak one-on-one with Paula Guys out of Bartles today, and really give her a shout out. I know she's kind of in the hot seat with everything that's going on right now. I went out to deliver just through the doorway 26 homemade masks that my mom had made that I got in from her to give her staff out there. It's the least that I could do. I'm not a sewer by any means, and but I just want to get those to her. And she's fighting the good fight along with everybody else out there. They're doing the best that they can, and hopefully they'll continue to do that. Back to what Matt said about food insecurity, it is a real thing. I had seen that Fairway is offering kind of a donation system by a food bag. I shared it on my Facebook page. I even put the link to be able to make donations to Northeast Iowa Food Bank. A person or two is taken up on that. So if you are able to help out, it's not as easy as going to the store and buying food and getting it to an outlet. There's that. If you need something in the community, feel free to call the United Way 211 number. Message me. I'll do the best that I can to help you out as well. Get you the resources that you need. At least to direct them to them. So without further ado, I will call for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by
Schneider, second by Birgen. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, the same sign.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.